Top 10 Creepiest Abandoned Places in the World. UYUNI Train Cemetery. Cementerio de Trenes, aka the Great Train Graveyard, is a haunting place. Located on Bolivia's desolate salt flats, countless locomotives litter the landscape here, rusted and decaying, and never to take to the tracks again. This is a place for train buffs, although the sight that awaits can be distressing. Once great engines have been allowed to rot beyond all recognition. It feels like such a waste. UYUNI, just 3 kilometers from here, was meant to be a major transportation hub, linking South America's great cities and connecting the continent. Yet it never quite happened, and the imported locomotives, many of them transported from Great Britain, were neglected and allowed to fall into disrepair. Long since stripped of all their valuable parts, vandalized and corroded by the salt winds, there's something sad about the hollow shells that remain. The ghostland town of Namibia. Located in the Namib Desert, not far from BEELITZ, Kolmanskop was once a thriving mining village. Precious diamonds were discovered here in 1908, prompting a boom and a surging population of prospectors. These days it is a ghost town, abandoned and being reclaimed, little by little, by the desert. The desolate buildings here being buried beneath the shifting sands, it is a haunting place. There was once a hospital, ballroom, school, theater and casino here, as well as the first tram in Africa. But the diamond rush didn't last long and, supplies depleted, people began to leave in order to seek their fortunes elsewhere. The mass exodus began not long after World War II, with Kolmanskop abandoned in 1956. The buildings remain, although most are partially buried, a little more so each year. It's quiet and eerie now, and walking the once thriving streets can be an unsettling experience. The Haunted Hotel del Salto. Located on a cliffside, opposite a spectacular waterfall and not far from Bogotá in Colombia, the Salto Hotel boasts views that are to die for. Unfortunately, death is a common theme in these parts. Legend has it that in ancient times, indigenous people would jump from Tequendama Falls in order to avoid being captured by Spanish conquerors. More recently, this has become a noted suicide spot, where countless lives have been lost. For a time, the hotel was a luxurious resort, where the rich and famous came to view the falls and explore the scenic local area. Yet its allure was lost when the river became polluted by industrial waste, the building falling into disrepair before being abandoned altogether. It's said to be haunted and, although recent renovation work has seen a museum and tourist attraction open here, you wouldn't want to stick around after nightfall. PRIPYAT'S creepy amusement park. Built to serve Chernobyl and house those who worked there, Pripyat found itself on the front line in 1986, when disaster struck and a reactor at the doomed nuclear power plant exploded. More than 49,000 people once lived here, and all were evacuated within 36 hours. More than 30 years on, the result couldn't be more eerie. Homes, shops and schools stand empty, with Pripyat having been ruled unsafe for human habitation for the next 24,000 years. It is possible to visit these days, although strict conditions and guidelines must be followed, with not all areas considered safe. Located in northern Ukraine, not far from the Belarus border, this is a place that calls to the curious, with interest in Chernobyl on the rise. The abandoned amusement park is especially unsettling, and its rusting rides couldn't be creepier. Harrowing, but forever fascinating, Pripyat is a place that must be seen to be believed. The sunk ghost yacht of Antarctica. MASSACHUSETS has been rescued now, retrieved from the icy depths and towed away. But for a time, this submerged ghost ship could be seen quite clearly from the surface, haunting those who looked upon it and proving an unnerving experience for those aboard other vessels. The 76-foot Brazilian yacht sank in 2012 after the crew got into difficulties in the frigid waters of Maxwell Bay, just off King George Island in Antarctica. Battling gusting winds and huge ice floes, the outcome was soon inevitable and all on board were rescued, leaving MASSACHUSETS, which translates as endless sea, to sink to the seabed and serve as a warning to passing ships. The stricken vessel was retrieved using inflatable buoys some 12 months later, although the damage was so great it never sailed again. The ghost ship has gone, but the haunting image endures. The abandoned military hospital in BEELITZ. The abandoned hospital at BEELITZ Heilstätten is an unsettling place. These days it is decaying, the plaster peeling, the walls crumbling and weeds sprouting from the deep cracks and crevices. But once it was a military hospital that, for a time, treated injured German soldiers and Nazi officials. For a short period, a wounded Adolf Hitler was amongst the patients here. Just thinking about it is unnerving. Opened in 1898, BEELITZ Heilstätten was a hectic place during the First World War, with battlefield injuries caused by machine guns and mustard gas commonplace. It was again called into action in World War II, before Russian soldiers claimed it in 1945. It remained in service as a Soviet military hospital until 1995, when most of the buildings here were abandoned and allowed to fall into disrepair. This one-time Nazi stronghold beckons those with an interest in such things, and paying a visit is not recommended. The haunted Sanji Pod Village. The site that once housed Sanji's mysterious pod homes is an eerie place. The space-age structures have been torn down now, but the haunting mood endures here. Thinking about paying a visit? Take our advice and don't go alone. The future row houses that used to stand here were never finished, the project jinxed from the start and abandoned long before completion. The site is believed to have once been a graveyard. It's rumored to be haunted and there's no question that things didn't proceed as planned. This had been intended as a vacation resort for US soldiers, but problems beset the building work. Several people died here, some in car crashes, others committed suicide, and the project stalled, never to resume. Legend has it that the destruction of a giant dragon sculpture, cut apart to accommodate an access road, played a part, setting a curse that continues to haunt this troubled place. The flooded city of Shicheng. Long forgotten, Shicheng has been dubbed the Atlantis of the East. Dating back more than 600 years, stone architecture from the ancient Ming and Qing dynasties can be seen here, deep below Qianao Lake in China's Zhejiang province. Since it was rediscovered in 2001, divers have flocked to explore this fascinating underwater city. Hidden some 40 meters beneath the lake's shimmering surface, paying a visit is an eerie experience. Some 30,000 residents were relocated in the 1950s following the decision to flood Shicheng, aka the Lion City, in order to build the vast Xianan Dam and create the huge hydroelectric station that these days provides power to the region. Ironically, the waters have helped to preserve the ancient structures, making this one of the best places to revisit Imperial China's remarkable past. See paved roads, intricate carvings and entire buildings up close, and be prepared to get goosebumps in the process. The decaying New Bedford's Orpheum. Entering New Bedford's imposing Orpheum is like taking a step back in time. This stylish theatre and movie house was opened in 1912, on the same April day that Titanic sank, en route to the United States. But having closed its doors to customers in the 1950s, it has long been abandoned and decaying. Located on Water Street in the small Massachusetts city, it is a significant local landmark. Yet few here get the chance to take a look behind the scenes. Stepping inside is a haunting experience, the theater seats empty, but much remaining from the building's glorious heyday. The paint is peeling and the plasterwork crumbling, yet the era's fading grandeur still endures. The Orpheum also houses a gymnasium, shooting range and beautiful ballroom, and with much here still intact, goosebumps are guaranteed for those fortunate enough to catch a glimpse. Sydney's 102-year-old floating forest. Sydney's so-called floating forest makes for a strange tourist attraction. Located in Homebush Bay, just outside the city's bustling centre, this is a remnant from Australia's past that has survived the area's dramatic regeneration. Lush green mangrove trees protrude from the great rusting hull of SS Airfield, brought here in 1972 to be dismantled, but still afloat in the peaceful waters of the scenic bay. Built in the UK, this massive steel beast saw service in the Second World War, when it was used to transport supplies to US soldiers stationed in the Pacific. Having been decommissioned, it, like countless other vessels, was brought to Homebush to be stripped down and taken apart. Yet still it survives, claimed by nature and calling to the curious. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the Top 10s. Cheers.